Hello and welcome to the Daily Royal. My name is Shelby and I have been a royal watcher for the past 10 years. In this podcast, I talk about the daily events of 7 of the European monarchies. So I talk about Belgium, the UK, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, and Sweden. I upload Monday through Friday with occasional bonus episodes here and there. Today we are going to be talking about all of the events from Friday, May 14th of 2021. Wow, you guys. So obviously I missed yesterday and I meant to record an episode that was like, hey, I'm not recording today. Here's why. And it's because there were literally 4 events in 2 countries yesterday. So I was like, you know what? We'll just combine the episodes and that'll save me some headache, and also just like yesterday ended up being a crazy day in my life, which was fine. And so it was nice to just be able to get what I needed to get done today. But because of that, now we do have 2 days to cover. But here's the thing. It's now 7 events in 2 countries. So like the countries didn't change. The events just added, plus some court circular. So I think I'm going to do this like casually, like a casual Friday episode, because I don't typically record on Fridays anyway anymore. So we're just going to do like super casual episode. No national anthems, like nothing. We'll just keep it really simple. I'm just going to talk. There will be an ad break in the middle like there always is, but like that's it. It'll be a surprise what I end up doing on Monday. It'll be a surprise for all of us, because that's just the way it's gonna go. I have a feeling of what I'm gonna do, but I'm not entirely sure yet. So, because I'm not entirely sure, and also I don't know how my day's gonna go. So we'll see what all that looks like. So, let's go ahead and jump in. We have a lot of things to cover in the British royal family. So this is going to be like the bulk of our episode today is the British royal family and all of their wonderful events. And like I said, it's a lot, but like it'll be fine. So yesterday, the Prince of Wales visited the Breast Cancer Now Tony Robbins Research Center. So Charles has been a patron of this organization. It said for 21 years, but then it also said 1998, which is over 21 years. I think that's like 23 years. I'm not sure which one is actually correct, which is kind of frustrating to me. But anyway, so he visited that to learn all about the research that they have been doing. And obviously events like this have kind of been on this like weird put on hold moment for the past year. So I think pre-2020, things like this were normal. But obviously we lived through a pandemic, and so medical research kind of all got split. And so there was COVID research, but then like background scenes for other cancer research and things like that were still happening. We just didn't get to see it very much, at least from a royal following angle, or even like a world following angle, because we were all obsessed with COVID, which of course we were. I mean, even now it's like, as things are transitioning to this new normal, we're all focused on masks or no masks and what's going on, what are the new rules and regulations and all of that. So it's still the same, but in a more optimistic direction, which is great. But obviously, cancer research in general is still extremely important, and that doesn't go away because there's a COVID pandemic. So I think it's great that we're kind of introducing royal engagements back in that are focused, at least in the UK, that are focused on different kinds of research. So that's awesome. So next, we have the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge visited several organizations I think it's a town of Wolverhampton. And they visited, like I said, 3 organizations aimed at helping young people with mental health. So this week was Mental Health Awareness Week. It didn't get a lot of attention because, at least in terms, again, of royal following, but it did today and yesterday from Will and Kate, which is great. So they first visited the Way Youth Zone, which they seems to be really focused on like activities and building resilience through community, which is awesome. And then they also visited, oh gosh, this was my favorite event. They visited Huggle Pets, which is an organization that is using animal-assisted therapy techniques. So when we think of therapy animals, I think most people think dog. But like therapeutic techniques can be with any kind of animal. So there was a guinea pig, a bearded dragon. I think those were the 2 that were like the stars of the event. But it was awesome. Like Will and Kate were both just like hanging on to these little tiny pets and having a great time. Favorite event of the day. And then they also visited an organization that focuses on young people up to 25 through lots of different parts of life. So I think I've talked about this on here, but like I truly believe that transition from high school to college, and then even more so the college to like adulthood transition is super intense. And so most people are 20, I think they're 22 when they graduate college. I think. I'm a weird anomaly. I don't think I've ever talked about this. I graduated high school early. I started college the day I turned 17. And so I graduated high school or college at 20. Anyway. So I'm like, I have to think about how old people are when they graduate from college or high school because I was neither of the correct ages. But I think they're 22. And so that 22 to 25 range is covered with this organization as well. So that is really awesome. So now I'm going to pull up the court circular for yesterday and see what we have going on there. I do kind of love using my Apple News Plus for court circulars. It works just a little better now that I've learned to use my phone if I'm recording early. I can use it's really late. I'm recording at 8:55 right now. So I can use my iPad, but typically I still use my phone. So yesterday, the Prince of Wales, patron of Breast Cancer Now, visited the Breast Cancer Now Tony Robbins Research Center. We already talked about that. And then in the afternoon, or in the evening, I guess, he held a meeting for the Sustainable Markets Initiative. And then we have the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's events. So the Way Youth Zone, Base 25, and Huggle Pets, which I love all of them. All right, so that was yesterday. So then we go to today. Queen Elizabeth today received the credentials from the new ambassadors to the Court of St. James from Belarus and from the Netherlands. So this is, again, we've talked about this a few times in the past couple weeks, so I won't go over it very much. It's a virtual ceremony, but one new thing that I learned today, and this is tradition, is, and this happens in pretty much every one of the countries. I'm not sure how they get there in Belgium, but in the UK and in Denmark and Sweden, they use the royal carriages to go pick up an ambassador from their embassy and take them to, in the UK's case, obviously, it's Buckingham. And they're brought through with like the ceremonial everything. It's wonderful. This is why I love this event so much, because it's so ceremonial and ancient and like amazing. So that is what was happening for Queen Elizabeth. And then today also the Prince of Wales was visiting Wales. So he took on a series of engagements in Cardiff and another town that I can't even try to pronounce because my Welsh accent is terrible. So he first visited a company called BCB International, which has been really taking on the call to action for the pandemic and has been producing PPE and as well as hand sanitizer in like large quantities. So that's really awesome. Then he visited a community hub and food bank called the Engine House. So I'm going to assume this is in like an older firehouse that has been renovated. It's an assumption. I don't know. And so the Engine House is obviously like I said, a community hub and a food bank, but it also served as a mass testing site for COVID. I'm not sure if it's still doing that because I'm not sure how much mass testing is happening anymore. But of course, that was a huge, important piece of the puzzle of COVID in the beginning. So then Charles finally ended his visit with a visit to a synagogue with the Jewish Heritage Foundation. So I think he's a patron for the Jewish Heritage Foundation. And they purchased this torn down, run down Gothic style synagogue that they are going to be renovating. So he was taking a tour and seeing some of the plans for the synagogue in the future. So I thought that was really cool. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the court circular for today. We have the ambassadors, and then at Clarence House we have the different visits that we just talked about with Charles. There is nothing additional on the court circular. So this brings me to something that I kind of want to talk about. I'm going to use like 2 minutes. So obviously, the start of this week with the state opening of Parliament drew a lot of attention, if you're an American, to the Queen and her title and her role. And I want to just like quickly address something. So I will say in like my vernacular, my day-to-day language, I do call her the Queen of England. That is not her title. She is the Queen of Great Britain and the United Kingdom. That's wrong. She's the Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales, and head of the Commonwealth of Nations. It's not quite that, but it's very close. But yes, I do call her the Queen of England. I know that is not her title, though. But I wanted to say, like, yes, I know, and I will be very aware of that in the future in not calling her that. Also, like, I know I talked about this a lot on the day of, but, like, the Queen is a constitutional monarch. She has no governing power. Period. End of sentence. Like, that's it. She has no governing power. She does not write government speeches. Okay? Because for some reason, this is still a thing that's coming up. Like 5 days later. Okay? Okay. So that is what was going on in the UK. And now we are going to go ahead and talk about the few events in Spain, but we are going to take a very quick ad break. Spain is our other country that has kept us going for the past 2 days, which I'm thankful for, but also like could have just been really quiet. So on Thursday, King Felipe and Queen Letizia had an unannounced engagement in that they presided over a meeting of the Princess of Girona Foundation. They do this kind of every few months. So all of the award winners have been named for the 2021 Princess of Girona Foundation Awards. They haven't set an award ceremony date. I expect that to be sometime in June, but I'm not entirely sure. That's what I expect because that's when it's typically held, but also the Princess of Girona is moving to Wales in August, so I would assume it's going to be held before then. But that's an assumption, that's not an actual fact. And then also on Thursday, so this was the announced engagement, and I did not realize how important this was going to be. So I actually got kind of overwhelmed when I realized what was going on. So King Felipe was present for a ceremony to, from what I can tell, welcome home troops that had been deployed in Afghanistan. So if you don't pay a lot of attention to world affairs, that's okay. Things are not coming to an end, but very intensely shrinking in scale in Afghanistan in the conflict, in what in the US we have called the War on Terror. And so as things are transitioning out of that, more troops are coming home. And so the Spanish military is starting their drawdown, and they were in pretty intensely with the US as a NATO ally, but also just like their government was very aligned with ours in the War on Terror in 2001 to 2004, kind of like to the detriment of the Spanish people in terms of sending troops because their prime minister wanted to appear to side with George W. Bush, who was making all of the U.S. decisions because he was the president at the time. So he spent a lot and lost a lot of soldiers in what was seen by a lot of people as a needless war. I'm trying to be very careful here. And also I don't understand all of it. And the few things I've read on it have been from a very liberal perspective, because I am a liberal and I have liberal perspectives and I tend to read in my own bubble. Just that's the way I am. So this was like a big deal because this is probably the last mass troop coming home ceremony that Spain will have for troops in Afghanistan. Like I think there are still some there, but I don't think there's that many. So they'll come home a little more conventional way versus coming home on Air Force planes and things like that. So it's a big deal. So that was a traditional kind of military ceremony. And so that was, of course, really important. So that was all of yesterday's events. And then today, King Felipe held an audience with the Secretary General of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, who is on like a farewell tour because he has chosen to not renew his position as Secretary General. So he is visiting a lot of countries to say goodbye. So that was the event in Spain today. That brings us to the end of this episode, which is, it's been a week. Again, we're getting there though. I want to touch on a couple of things. So tomorrow for me, today for you, is Prince Christian's confirmation. I just found out today that it's not going to be live streamed from the church. So it's not going to be as big of a thing as I expected. However, it's still going to be like the main piece of the episode that comes out on Monday, because it just will. Now, I am thinking that I'm going to do 2 episodes to come out on Tuesday. And those are going to cover either Queen Maxima's 50th birthday as its own episode, or Norway's National Day as its own episode, and then have one of those 2 things combined with the rest of the daily events. I'm not sure which one to do. If you guys have opinions, let me know. So typically these events are these special episodes, granted I haven't done that many, but are very researched and much more intense in terms of the depth I go into. So I will be watching both events pretty closely, and I don't know, let me know. It'll still be a surprise, but if people have opinions, I would like to know them. So you can reach out to me on thedailyroyal.com. There's a spot to message me there. You can direct message me on the Daily Royal on Instagram. Yeah. Sorry. Got distracted. But yeah, also check out those things because they'll have photos of the past couple of days of events. And yeah, I will talk to you all on Monday. So until then, have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday. Bye.